episode of the Back Bar podcast. Your three Powerpuff Girls this evening are going to be myself, Martin or Minnie. We've got John Gemmell or Gemmell joining us. And as always, we've got our hostess with the mostess, Mr. Ali Skywalker McLeod. Good evening, lads. How are we doing?
Hello.
That was a bit croaky there with me.
What was that?
I know.
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Tickety-boo.
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 Not just a wee night away of relaxation and you're feeling all refreshed for
Clean
kicking on for another week of Doddie Aid.
Connected with nature, just seen the Falls of Fala, stopped in at Lust for a wee coffee.
Oh, aye.
Went into the wee gift shop, seen everything was literally £400 left. And that was it. But yeah, it was a nice wee chill out weekend. What have you done?
Have you like clean shaved to be more streamlined for Doddie Aid?
It's anything that gets me more miles, mate. So
I just went running in a bit of a breeze and his beard went.
I was getting to the point where I was noticing I was just sitting all the time just doing this because this bit here do more. Yeah. So I was just sitting tugging this one bit of hair like a weirdo. So I just thought
sound like a teenager.
Well, that's it.
Just tugging.
Tugging this one bit.
Just sitting tugging.
I'm having a night tonight. But yeah, just thought I'd shave it off. I'm glad you like it.
I do.
Looks smart.
That's it.
So what's been happening with you two? Enough talk about little old me. What's been going
on? I suppose I have a shout out to make to my darling wife. I
love you, baby.
Well, we've been married 6 years. We don't go down that road anymore. So, but she has just turned the big 40. She's not going to mind me do that because she's one of these people that actually quite likes, these big names and birthdays and stuff. But anyway, yep, she just turned 40 on Thursday there. So a big shout out to her. We absolutely kicked the arse out of it because all plans, COVID, wrecked everything for us, but we still managed to have a good day. Ended up in a Hummer limo driving down to Truenett Scots, and I tell you what, I'm gonna steal it though.
It sounds like you planned your ideal day, not Lorna's.
No, she had a good day. Trust me.
Strippers, aye.
But the only way to travel at any occasion is to get a Hummer limo now. Like if I'm going down the shops, I'm ordering this guy. Like I need a carry out, so I'm just taking a Hummer limo. But no, it's. Can
you come into some money?
But
how much money do we make out of this? Negative £30 a month.
Yeah, that's not gonna pay for my limo and we absolutely.
Well, are you guys losing money in this? I'm making a fucking killing.
He's got sponsorship deals coming out his arse. Probably Gillette shavers now as well.
Probably
HDs.
Did the Hobnobs one come in after last week?
Not yet, mate. I'm in advanced discussions.
Oh, sorry, digestives. It was not Hobnobs.
Dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate.
Yeah, so we're nearly there. And what about you, Gemma? What have you been doing?
Not much. Decided to go to more extreme lengths for my Doddie Aid miles yesterday. Took my bike up and over the Pentland Hills, and it was quite good fun actually.
Did you fall off?
I went over the handlebars on one occasion. I misjudged the camber. I thought it was more of a U shape, and it was just a V. So I went down. It went just catapulted over the front, and just heard Doug going, "You all right, mate?" I was lying there like fucking angle.
No.
How did you react to it? Did you go, "Oh, I've been really hurt"? Or did you go, "I'm fine, mate"? So you're talking about?
He was like, "Do you want to take a minute?" I was like, No, I'm good. Call me an ambulance. I'm hurt.
I can see that.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't too bad. It was good fun. Then had a few beers last night. Nothing to the extremes of Ali has been doing the last couple of nights, but had a few beers last night, and
this is
quite nice
Lorna,
weekend.
Lorna drinks prosecco, so I obviously filled the fridge with prosecco, and so I decided I was going to drink it. It's not really my favorite drink, I have to admit, but
not big on it.
When we're in the Hummer limo, we took like 3-4 bottles with us in there, and on the way down there and the way back up. So my hangover was 10 times the pain it was for drinking all that nonsense.
Living your George Best life.
I know. He was the champers. I was the £5 out of Aldi bottles of Prosecco. I think we managed to get through. There was only 8 of us, but there's probably only about 4 of us that were drinking Prosecco, or 5 of us drinking Prosecco, and I think we got through about 15 bottles. So yeah, it's
not a bad shift. Yeah,
and that's on top of mojito cocktails, porn star hotels. What? No,
porn star hotels.
That
sounds like it's linked to many.
Is this after one I went to bed?
That was like, damn you, internal voice. Why did you come out?
I know.
Hotels.
Porn star cocktails. So we had porn star cocktails at the porn star hotel.
You did go all out for her birthday, mate.
That's it. Hey, Lord, I got you a porn star, but you're sleeping. Not bad.
Seamus a guy.
It's got dreamy eyes.
Anyway, speaking about dreamy eyes, what's happening tonight?
Oh, guys, got a fucking treat for you. Absolute treat. We have got not one guest, we've got 2 guests tonight.
Okay.
We've got an old flame of ours, Emma Dodds, is coming on. So she's on for round 2, so we couldn't have scared her away that much. So she's coming on, and she's also going to be joined by her presenting co-host, Mr. Rory Hamilton. So
there we go.
Basically, we're just collecting Lomond High School's ex-pupils by the looks of it. The 2 of them are coming on for a wee chinwag very shortly, so we'll see how that goes. They're obviously right into their Doddie Aid as well, and hopefully we can get them to join the best league. You know, the best league.
The one and only.
But it'd be quite good if they won the beers with us, so we could pretend we've got celebrity pals now. But I can't see that not happening at all, or them saying that is great. No, thank you.
I know. Having no dates available for the next 20 years.
Yeah. Well, I suppose we'll see how we get on with them when they come on.
They might end up texting Jacko asking how you get a restraining order on them.
I know.
How did you manage to sort that, by the way?
Rory does have dreamy eyes. I could definitely see me, having a little follow on Insta. I thought, where's he this weekend? Anyway, I've had a really rough week there, so yeah.
Rory, I've got a Hummer limo to come to. We're porn stars.
Fuck, I would be up for it. Me and him would be best friends by Monday.
Just hear the car horn.
Somebody have got a Prosecco out the window. I will see. What should we do? Should we get them on? Assuming they turn up.
That's probably a good idea.
Seems like the best next step.
Don't tell Rory about the Hummer yet. Let me introduce it myself.
Right, okay. So let's get them on then. Let's get Rory and Emma.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Welcome to our 2 guests this evening. It's not very often we do a wee double, but we've got a double act on tonight. One, bizarrely, is a returning guest, believe it or not. So we're welcomed by Emma Dodds. Thanks for joining us again.
Thank you for having me back. I don't often get asked back twice.
It was touch and go for a wee bit, but we went with it. And we're also fortunate enough to have Mr. Rory Hamilton joining us as well. So welcome to the back bar.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
No bother. I'm hoping the expectation levels are pretty low for this, so that we don't disappoint. So just don't expect anything amazing. So first things first. Obviously, we're here for Doddie Aid. So how's it been going, guys?
It's been going all right. Yeah, I mean, last year was obviously the first year, so I think I was quite keen last year to get the miles in. Like it was like a focus every day. This year, I thought I'd be more relaxed, but as soon as January the first hit, I was like, oh no. It's game on. Like my competition head is back on, and it's been good fun. I've been trying to do something every day, but not as many miles maybe as some people, but progress for me. So no, it's been great fun.
Awesome.
I just got my, at the end of the year, if any of you are on Strava and they do the year in review, so I got sent mine through on December the 30th or something, and it was all the totals. I was like, oh, that's quite impressive. And then it breaks it down into the months and the graph. So it starts out like January and February is like this. And then it just shoots down for the rest of the year. So obviously, Doddie Aid is a hugely positive influence on my life.
No, that's good. I think I've had the same problem. I get the message from Strava, and it's like, you didn't do anything last year. Like, I think your Strava's broke. It's like, that was actually fine. It wasn't injured at all. So, yeah.
I get the email from Strava like, "Have you forgotten about me?"
Yeah.
Please renew your subscription. Ridiculous.
Definitely. I think it's with the training, we were talking just before we came on there about how you do your miles, and it can be misleading. You look at the app and you see who's kind of doing what. Someone's up at like 400 miles, and then someone's there on 50 miles, and you'll be like, oh, he's pathetic, but he's probably run 5-10 miles or something. It's getting that balance of what you're doing. But so I think they do need to hone that in a little bit and probably put what you're actually doing. I think
the cyclists and the indoor bikes have got a big advantage.
Well,
Yeah.
I can.
You say that. I mean, I've got an indoor bike, but I don't feel that I contribute quite as much as everyone else. I'd like to put that down to sort of hills and interval sessions, though. If I could just drop that in early on.
I got an indoor bike. I got an indoor bike last year just for doing the World in a Day for Doddie Aid, and I think like since February I've spun it like twice. It just it hasn't happened. It's the most expensive piece of equipment in our house.
Aye, well, that's the same problem you've got with the clothes horse. It just becomes places for your hoodies. That's
yeah. But see, so my issue with the cycling is, right. So see if you sit on Zwift and you can bust your balls and you can do like an Alp de Zwift or something like that, and so the climb up absolutely kills you. But you get the same mileage for going down, and you don't even need to turn the pedals. Yeah. So that's where the cyclists have got it so easy. And actually, I was going to put it because we're that many group messages for Doddie Aid. I need to put up actually. Look, you need to do like bonuses for. I do loads of Monroes and stuff like that. We need bonus miles for Monroes, like an extra 20 miles if you hit the summit, maybe 10 for a Corbett, something like that, because you slog your guts out for like 10 hours in the hill, and then you look at how much you've actually moved. You're like 8 miles for all day. Like, come on, I could have sat on the bike for 15 minutes and done that.
I've done that Alp de Zwift once, and I did. It took me I can't was somewhere between an hour and a half to 2 hours to get up to the top of it. And then I walked away and made my lunch as my bike was spinning back down the hill. It did the whole thing back down the hill without me touching it. Yeah. And so it was like another 10 miles back downhill without me even being in the same room.
Well, if you're looking for a relay partner, I don't mind doing the
downhill, but probably
you've got all these fancy bikes. I've got like a Chris Akabusi bike in there, man. It's just like literally 2 pedals. It doesn't have anything else. Just tells you how far you've done. But I'm convinced it's wrong because
is it the Record Breakers edition?
It is.
I think what you need to turn these indoor bikes is into like some modern art. You like kind of make them fancy. Maybe put them up on a tilt or something, and you can just say you're some sort of artistic person or something. I might think you're autistic, but it's
Are you guys in any leagues actually? Have you signed up for a league?
I'm not in any. No,
I'm just in Team Glasgow. I mean, my heart and soul is in it.
Come on,
not just about the badge. I'm not diversifying in any way, shape, or form. Full attention on that.
I'll need to see how many. See what the leading miles are on yours before joining.
Well, ours is a bit of a false economy because Glenn Bryce is fucked up putting his details in, and it looks like he's done 4,500 miles in 2 runs. So
take it.
Yeah, it's so funny because then he's just seen Instagram. And he's like, "That's me done another 5K, lads." I'm like, "You've not, mate. You've done 4,000 miles. Like, the VM isn't for meters. Like that's miles." So he's romping it. But then we've got that boy. Is it Tony McCarthy?
Tony McCarthy. Yeah, he's done about 700
genuine miles. Frightening, man.
But again, he's probably, as you said, I
think he's on like the indoor bike and stuff.
Yeah.
I was about dog sleighing and motorbike. They all count, just put the Garmin on whichever item you're doing it on. I mean, it all counts. To be honest.
Air miles, eh? Like just
air miles.
I've just had a quick look at our league actually, and we are sitting on 48 people in our league at the moment. So if both of you joined, it would take us to a nice round 50.
Yeah, we half century. Yeah. We can do that, Emma.
Yeah.
And in
We can
fairness,
do that for
Go
I
on.
mean,
a
Jenny,
small contribution, a small bribe or some sort of thing.
All the-
I'm sure I can be swayed.
There's prizes there, Emma. There's prizes to be won.
Prizes to be won.
Yeah, there's prizes to be won. I think there's 5 prizes. One of them, I'll have to tell you,
It's
is
more
a
than
night
that.
out with us. So I don't know if that's a good prize.
that's
So,
the
I thought
booby
you were
prize.
selling this.
Emma noticed.
There you go.
Yes,
There we go.
you
Rory's in.
Bloody hell, Rory.
No pressure, Emma.
An
You can take your
efficient
words
character.
against Simon Donnelly's in the league as well. So
Okay.
he's already been questioning Glenn Bryce. He's already been asking the question about his mileage because he's not happy. He wants a full breakdown. But I don't really run Doddie Aid, so I can't give him it. But he's been chinning it.
Talking to
Yeah,
people in our league, we
wow.
just probably chin Jacko right now. Oh, there we go.
Hey,
Emma's
there we
joined
go.
as well.
There you go.
Good.
You hit the right number, lads.
Jacko,
Thanks,
former
Rory.
professional athlete, is sitting there on about 5 miles, I think, at the moment, which is pretty
Mine
pathetic
looks
for him.
utterly
Five?
unimpressive now that
I
I
know.
can see it.
How many workouts is that? Is that like 10 workouts? 5
No, I
miles?
think it's like about 5 workouts or something. It's not
Mile
very
ago.
good. Hold on, let's
I went down to the shops and back.
Yeah.
have a wee look.
What's he doing?
He's
I
done
down to the
4
garage to get
workouts
a
in
lift.
5.5 miles.
That's a oh, he used to be a professional rugby player.
Yeah, he's
So
clearly letting himself go.
Aye.
Well, my
I do-
walk to the pub yesterday was 2.5k each way, so I was delighted with that.
Do they all count? They all these
Aye.
all these kilometres count.
2.5 kilometres, but you only stay a kilometre away from the pub. It's just because on the way back.
It was 1 kilometre to get there and then 4 to get home.
Oh man. Oh,
That's good.
but also going into Doddie Aid, how did you get involved? I think Emma, you said you were in it last year. Rory, were you part of it last year as well?
Yeah.
So how did you kind of get involved with Doddie Aid?
Well, I mean, obviously, both of us through Premier Sports have been working more at the beginning when Doddie was on as a pundit for the Pro 14 as it was then, and now URC. So I think that always Emma and I actually mentioned it in that first year that we should do something, and we were just more thinking, like we end up doing, a bunch of activities just to raise awareness for it. But then obviously Doddie Aid has sort of taken on this huge aspect of what it is. I'm good friends with the Frasers, so Ian and Andrew, who's not really involved in Doddie Aid, but so they're from Call. Their parents ran the gap year organisation that I went away to Guyana with at the end of school. So I've stayed mates with, really good friends with the family, and obviously Rob Wainwright from Call is heavily involved. So they've taken quite a sort of central role in it. So last year I was just sort of in it as a normal person, and then this year, one phone call from Ian, which I was like, oh, he's gonna want to go for a beer or something, and he's like, oh, you could maybe help out a little bit with this. It'll only be like a couple of minutes each week. Nice one.
That's funny. He said similar to us as well. Actually, a couple of minutes here and there. No, that's good.
Yeah, and like you say, I was involved last year, so I got a phone call, like a really, innocuous phone call. I was in my car, and it happened to come from a friend of mine who's involved, and they sort of said, "Look, would you come on board to be captain of Team Glasgow?" And I was like, won't involve much, just a little bit, just do a couple of miles, like your usual exercise every week or every day, and then you just put it towards Doddie Aid. And I was like, yeah, cool. And then, as I said earlier, this sort of ingrained competitiveness starts building up and burning inside of me, where I just can't let all the other districts win. Albeit Glasgow weren't successful last year in winning, but you then become this sort of ultra competitive person. And as we spoke about, we obviously know Doddie really well from working with them, and then it's such an unbelievable cause as well. So it's a no-brainer. Like, when you get asked to take part, and then of course when this year rolled out, I mean, we were actually talking on the group chats about 2022 and sort of in the summer of last year about what we could do that would be bigger and better. And it's amazing to actually see how it's rolled over, and how like more people like yourselves got involved, and there's more people in each district, and how the Barbarians have crowbarred themselves into it. I mean, I don't think they were actually about last year, but some from one way or the other have managed to miraculously form a district. And Yeah, no, but it's just brilliant. And, there's obviously a close relationship with a lot of people who are at the top of the tree, and they put in so many hours that, we're joking about what time it takes up for us, but it's nothing really. It all pales into insignificance compared to everyone else. And it's just amazing. I actually find it hilarious. Someone in a WhatsApp group with, like a WhatsApp will come through from like Lorraine Kelly. She's not actually messaging me, obviously, but I'm just happen to be in this group that Lorraine Kelly's messaging. And I'm like, it's Lorraine Kelly. But it's all about Doddie.
How many of the numbers have you saved in your phone?
all of them, Rory.
The other thing I was wondering, Emma, what was there an off-field misdemeanor that meant that you got stripped of the captaincy this year?
I don't.
So it's like you're obviously not pulling your weight there, Emma, is what he's trying to tell you, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I just wasn't going to say it.
You're getting all excited with Lorraine Kelly texting you. See, when I'm in that strategy group and I get messages from Rory Hamilton and Emma Dodds, I'm the same. I'm like, so I'm like, so now I'm getting my phone. I'm like, yeah. There's me with Andrew Cotter's number and Fred McCauley's number.
It's true, because
it's amazing though to actually see the amount of people that are involved, though, isn't it? It's amazing, like, to see how many people have come together to work towards it. It's brilliant.
It's very good.
When you're talking about the competitiveness, though, Team Glasgow really are lagging behind at the moment. I think we're dead last. We're about 40 to 50,000 miles behind Edinburgh. What can we do to kickstart the Ouija's into some sort of effort and drag our way back up the table?
I really like Rory's suggestion of just more points for the same amount of work.
Bonus miles.
Yeah.
But it needs to be very, very Glasgow specific. It's like if you run around George Square, you get an extra 100 miles.
Or if you run through Postle, you get an extra 300.
Danger miles.
Danger miles.
Brilliant. Oh man. Like, I'm just picturing Minnie running through Postle now, trying to get extra bonus miles.
I'd only get halfway and have to stop. I'm absolutely.
Oh man. So see, you say you obviously know Doddie quite well. What's his character like? I know he's obviously seems like quite a funny guy and very personable and stuff. Is that what he's just like all the time? Because even now, so there was a video went up with him recently. I'm not going to say promoting or making awareness of the motor neurons disease and stuff as well, and he's still trying to be funny and charismatic about it.
I mean, I wouldn't say that I know him brilliantly well, but having worked with him and been on a few social occasions, he is one of those real sort of life and soul of the party kind of guys. Like, he's the sort of center of attention, and not in that he's trying to hog it. It's just that he has got that character that people want to listen to and really resonate to. One of the best nights that I had with him was out in Rome, and it was after the Scotland game when Greg Laidlaw kicked the winning convert. I think we came from behind, and he kicked it really, really late. And so I met up Ian Fraser, aforementioned, who I nicknamed the Dominic Cummings of Doddie Aid last year. But so he was out, and so we ended up meeting up with Rob Wainwright, and then Doddie came along, and Gregor Townsend, obviously as having just been head coach, he came along and met up, and it ended up in like a sort of 3 a.m. chucking ice across the table at each other. It's kind of one of those nights out in Rome. It was a lot of good fun, but Doddie was on startling form that night.
Top form. Yeah.
He's just he's a big guy. He's a big personality. It's I think it resonates with everybody what's happened and the love he has throughout the game. I think we all remember him going to Murrayfield and taking the ball out into the centre circle, and he's just a larger than life character. Even when we launched Premier Sports, I mean, what year was that now, Rory? I mean, what year are we even in now? 2017, 2018. I can't remember.
Are we in
when it
year?
was. No.
We're in year 3 now, maybe 4.
Right.
3.
Yeah.
It's year 3. Yeah.
But we were there, and we were in the park in Glasgow, and he had the trophy, and we were all there getting our photographs taken, and he was still to like at that, the life and soul of the entire photo shoot. He was always up to mischief and like, elbowing you, and like poor camera guys.
Took a shine to Emma as well.
Well, he's considerably bigger than me, but he held the trophy much better than me, I might say. But yeah, he's just such a great guy. And I mean, I was really lucky to work a lot of time with Rob Burrow when I lived down in Leeds when I worked for Sky, and obviously to see him also affected by MND now, and what Kevin Sinfield's done retrospectively is absolutely incredible. And I just think there's a community there for these brilliant guys that were all there to just try and, like you say, raise a little bit of awareness, obviously raise a little bit of money as well. But it's just, it's just really shit that it happens to the good guys. But not that that sounds really silly, because there's not a good person for it to happen to. But, I think these personalities that have really had an impact on the sport that they've been part of. And ultimately, that's why we're all here pulling together, trying to make a difference for it. But yeah, I mean, Doddie, his personality matches his height, just absolutely larger than life. I hosted a dinner for him at, it was the Renaissance Club, the golf club. It was actually before one of the golf Scottish Opens a couple of years back. And he was on stage. I mean, he was absolutely hilarious. Like Rory Bremner was there and everyone. And I was standing on the stage and Doddie was standing on the floor, and I still wasn't taller than him. And I was just like, this blows my mind. It's insane. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to have a conversation with him. Still wasn't taller than him. And you're just like, what a guy. He's just an absolute hoot. And he had an impact on every single person in the room that night. And Ian Poulter was there, Thomas Bjorn. There was a whole host of the American Ryder Cup guys in there as well. And it's just like, he's just a fantastic guy that, has an impact on everyone.
The number of times I've seen, sorry, Gavin. The number of times I've seen interviews happening with Doddie and actually Al Kellick as well. And then at the end of it, if the cameraman wants to really screw over the reporter, then he does the full zoom out and shows the reporter on a step.
Social distancing is the best thing that's happened to me in rugby interviews, because it doesn't make me stand literally with the microphone in the air. At least they're 2 meters apart, so it doesn't look too ridiculous. But yeah, when you're side by side with these guys, Grant Gilchrist's another one at Edinburgh, you just look like a fool, basically. Or a borrower. It's probably a better analogy.
A borrower.
Yeah. That happened to me just recently. I was at Murrayfield, and I forget the name of the South African player, but I said I was talking to him and he was chatting away, and my wife says, "Oh, do you want a photo?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." So I stood next to him. I looked like his son. Honestly, I was just like this little boy next to him. And as soon as I stood next to him, I was just like, "No, this is not a good photo. I do not like this." I think he must have been so close to 7 foot. Like he was 6'8", 6'9". Anyway,
I see the problem is I get the same thing with fucking George Horn. Like, I'm just like,
George.
That's it. So,
oh man, yeah, because I think it just says a lot to the personality of Doddie, like what you're both saying there, that how successful Doddie Aid has been last year and this year with the amount of people that have been getting involved, and like you see all the social media posts going up, but no disrespect to any other ex-professional sportsman, but I genuinely don't think there would be the same level of buy-in and engagement around it if it was any other player. I think like everyone just, Doddie's such a popular personality within rugby overall, not just Scottish rugby, that it really gets everyone bought into the whole thing.
Well, I think it was last week that the British and Irish Lions Twitter account put up the clip of his mistaken identity down in South Africa in '97, and like the sort of rugby community is relatively tight as well. But I would have thought initially, or maybe Doddie doing something to try and raise awareness might touch a certain generation, our generation, and in Scotland. But then when you see that, that reach that he has throughout, the entire rugby community, be it the British Isles and then further down into the Southern Hemisphere, when something like that goes out and you just remember like that, those iconic moments, even from that, like that Living with the Lions DVD as it was then, It's just like, it's such a sin. They've tried to replicate it on every tour and they can't get near it because it had that aspect of amateurs that were almost starting to live in a professional environment. But then, of course, so you had that bit with Doddie, but then I always remember that, the other bit on that tour when he gets injured, and they've got that really, really intimate moment with him when he knows that his tour is over, and it's heartbreaking to see, because you've seen this guy that's this larger than life, such an important character within the squad, and then suddenly like this, it dawns on him that his tour is over, and it's so harsh.
Oh, definitely. Oh, yeah.
It's funny actually, that DVD you're talking about, it's kind of the bridge from amateurism to professionalism, and you see some of the behaviour on that DVD, and you're like, there's no way they would have put that into the final cut if that was like the more recent Lions tours. It's like there's an awkward bit when Keith Wood is showing a bit of a fetish for pregnant women.
What?
And he's like kind of kneeling down, putting his hands on, it's a pregnant waitress, he's like putting his hands on her belly and kissing her belly, and he's like, I just love it. And you're like, that's a bit. There's no way that's making the cut these days.
Is there a bit when is it John Bennett gets the camera and takes it out to the gym in South Africa, and he's just like filming all the women on the treadmill? No, John Bentley, sorry.
Oh man.
Again, absolutely no chance they're letting him do that now.
No.
Oh man.
I will just bin that clip, bin that.
Oh, I can just imagine that going out in the recent Lions tour. But moving on a little bit into more the professional side of things. Emma, I've been dying to ask you this now. So obviously there's been a little bit of change at Rangers recently with a certain manager deciding to, part ways.
I missed that one. I don't know.
I'll fill you in. Wait there 2 minutes and let me give you the full update.
We were surprised too, because apparently he was really happy. But anyway, let's see.
So it just means that the three of us can now be Steven Gerrard fans again now. So I grew up idolizing him.
Then he ruined your 10 in a row.
Sabbatical, but now I'm back. That's it. So let's not talk. We're not talking about this. This is not your interview.
How did you enjoy 55 then, lads? You love Steven Gerrard.
Okay, this is not going well.
Okay, sorry, I can't hear you.
Yeah, I think you're dropping out.
Yeah. But no, so it's obviously been a lot of change and everything, and he had such an impact on, say, Scottish football as well. And I think that's what Scottish football really needed. It needed a big name, someone just at the draw for the crowds and everything. And he was the man that was kind of holding on. With him leaving, there was definitely a dip, and you've seen the Rangers players that they kind of, I think they lost the next game or 2 games after that. But then obviously Van Bronckhorst comes in. What's his impact been like on the club?
Well, I think it's been pretty seamless, to be honest. Besides that blip against Hibs in the semi-final, which was quite a significant blip from the club's perspective, I think it's been pretty seamless. I actually think the Rangers' performances have improved. I mean, Rory's watched some of them as well, but there's a lot more security at the back. There's a completely different feel around the club, and I don't know if perhaps there was had gone a bit stale. I don't know whether the time had passed whereby both parties had sort of, almost subconsciously decided it was time to move on. I mean, I just think when you look at the performances of Rangers at the early part of the season, I mean, last year from a club perspective was unbelievable. To go unbeaten in the domestic league championship and win the title, albeit the cups didn't quite go the way the club would have wanted, but that is a real high, and to wrestle back the title from Celtic, again, a huge achievement on behalf of the club. But this year, the bar was raised in the sense that they were obviously the club that were having to defend the title, and that adds a different pressure. And I don't think Rangers really coped with that very well. I don't think they lived up to it. I don't think they replicated the performances that they produced last season. You just have to look at the defence, the way they were leaking goals. But I think since Gio has come in, there's been, well, for one, a completely different tactic has been implemented, and that security of 5 5 always behind the ball, 5 in front of the ball, really benefiting Rangers at the moment. And you can only go as far as the results. I mean, there's a lot bigger tests coming. I mean, they're about to play Dortmund, they're about to play Celtic. There's huge tests coming. But so far, and I actually don't think, from a Rangers fan perspective, they could have hoped for it to go any smoother. I mean, Gio Van Bronckhorst wasn't in charge for that game against Hibs. Should he have been? That's another question, but he wasn't. And so, since he came in and there's a little bit of business being done so far in January, I think a lot of Rangers fans will be quite happy with what, especially the doomsday scenario that was painted when Gerrard left and with how quickly he went. I don't think you could really have asked for
it was
a more
interesting though,
transition.
Emma, like how quickly there was like that shock, and I think it happened over the international break, and there was that shock of Gerrard's gone, what's going to happen? And I think Rangers were really smart. They moved quickly and they got in a guy who could very quickly bring the fans back on side. And within a week, nobody was talking about Steven Gerrard having left. It was more about it was almost like Gerrard was a forgotten figure by that stage. And I think one thing, even though Rangers at that stage were top of the league, they weren't playing to the same standards that they'd set the year before. And there was in Gerrard's, I think one of his first interviews at Aston Villa, he said, it was difficult. It was like we'd won the league and mission was complete. So therefore, I felt my job was finished. Your job is never mission complete at a football club because football doesn't stop there. And this was always my issue with
and not at Rangers or Celtic.
Exactly. And do you know what? Celtic were the same. Celtic spent maybe the last 5 years talking about 10 in a row and it being this massive thing, as if football stops then. They shouldn't be planning for 10 in a row. They should be planning beyond that.
Oh, totally. I think the problem with Celtic as well is they were doing just enough to get by, to
exactly.
stick their nose in front, instead of taking the time to invest properly in infrastructure, with sports science, with getting proper recruitment in place. They've done just enough, and it comes by that biscuit tin mentality or whatever they want to call it. But there was a real opportunity for Celtic to be light years ahead that they've just not taken, and whether or not that was an educated decision to make things a bit more interesting in Scotland, I don't know. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it's kind of backfired big time. The big Terry Monroe away now. So
the other thing as well, though, is that with Rangers, there was a lot to replace him. Is it going to be this person? Is it going to be that person? Is Derek McInnes coming on an interim basis? Is this? There was no leaks whatsoever outside the club. They didn't divulge who they were speaking to until they had an announcement to make, which I think was a really shrewd piece of business, really. And keeping that in-house, and however many people they spoke to and whatever they did, and some people are saying, well, was there did they actually speak to somebody else? Did they not? It doesn't actually matter anymore. I mean, we've all seen what happened when you have your target number 1, your target number 2, your target number 3, and it doesn't come to fruition. So I think actually the way Rangers handled the situation, they've clearly been planning for Gerrard's departure at some point. They didn't know when it was going to happen. And I don't think they specifically thought it was going to happen in that international break, because Steven Gerrard was very happy and very settled. I think you remember that he explained to us all. But it does happen at that point. but all I'm saying is I actually think the timing was perfect for everyone. I think the notice was on the door after the Champions League qualification exit, and I keep banging my desk. I'm really sorry if my camera's shaking. But the writing was on the wall, I think, after that, because I think that signalled in objectives. Steven Gerrard was never going to be able to achieve Champions League football with Rangers this season. So did that ultimately take his attention elsewhere? Only he can answer that. But the end result is that I think Rangers have got a good, hungry manager with a very good understanding of the club and a very good understanding of football, who has played at an unbelievable level. So it remains to be seen. But, across the city, I think Celtic have got a fantastic manager in Ange Postecoglou. I did a lot of work with Australia when I lived in Dubai, hosted a lot of Australia camps with the Socceroos at various points in Dubai. And he was always a really great, straight-talking manager. And although he came over and he was unknown to a lot of people, I think time has proved that he is actually a good coach, a good man manager, and pretty straight talking. So, I think, albeit he might not have been Celtic's first choice, but I think Celtic have got a great manager in charge of them at the moment. And you know what? He's already won 1 cup. So time will tell if he can add to that this season.
What if, how have the handshakes been going with Van Bronckhorst?
Well, we don't do it now because of social distancing, thankfully for him. So I've not poked him in the eye with an umbrella. I've not left him hanging. But the old fist bumping is going absolutely bang on. I'm not making it up.
You're not a case of you'll need to actually go down to fist bump him now. Is that not
I know.
I beg your pardon.
It's a family podcast.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Just because it was a short joke. It was a short joke. It's got lost somewhere. Sorry.
Wow.
Took a different angle there.
It's going to
You
be
said
off that corona a wee bit, I think.
On just a kind of overall professional note, you both went to Lomond School in Helensburgh, right? Did they have a specialist course in like sports broadcasting down there or something, or just pure coincidence that two of the more famous Scottish sports broadcasters have come from that neck of the woods?
Yeah, no, certainly not. I think Emma and I both fell into this quite randomly, really. Like, I did much more of a production background, but again, because at the time when we came through, like for TV, you didn't actually really need any qualifications to get anywhere. You just need to be enthusiastic.
Just don't put that on the school logo. You know, it's like you do not need an education to become famous on TV.
At least Rory was a model student. I think they're absolutely baffled as to how I've ended up where I am.
Well, we did a chat down at the school. What was it, last year, 2 years ago? And that was
now that we've had a couple of years out.
That was very much Emma's line, was that, yeah, Rory was a good student. He was supposed to do well.
So Rory gets the statue, Emma deals with the tea at the back. You know?
I actually thought the school was going to go on fire when I walked back into it, but it kept standing. I'm not even kidding you. I remember sitting down with the headmaster, and he's like, right, so what are you actually going to do? And I was like, no, I'm going to be a TV presenter. And he's like, no, what are you actually going to do with your life? Because that's not going to happen. And I was like, no, totally. I just want to go into TV. And he's like, right, you need to apply to some sort of, we've got quotas to hit. You need to get into some sort of university here. What course are you doing? And I was like, oh God, I'll just do English somewhere there. Thankfully, the PE department stepped in and they're like, no, we'll put you forward for a couple of scholarships here or there. And so there was a couple of sport options on the table for me. But yeah, the headmaster was like,
you should now call that headmaster
really?
into your office. But yeah. So give him a talking to.
It must have been good walking back.
He was actually a really good guy.
He was good.
Yeah, he was a good guy. He was a really good guy. I actually think if I'd had a harsher headmaster, I don't know if I'd have still been there. I mean, I just couldn't be arsed with school. All I wanted to do is play sport and talk. I mean, I wonder how I ended up here.
That's interesting, though, that you knew even at school that you wanted to be a sports presenter. Like, I was about 3 years into working in sport and TV before I realised that I wanted to be working in sport and TV.
It's like, we'll see how this pans out. See if Hollywood.
I was a runner on Wheel of Fortune at the age of 14 during my school holidays. I mean, I sort of nailed it. I mean, I knew what I had to do. I had to go to the bloody supermarket and get the food for the green room. I mean, that's where it all started for me.
Yeah,
but that's what I mean with TV. Like, that is often like, you don't necessarily need like your PhD in sports presenting. Like, you put yourself in the right place and chat to the right people and show willing, and you get trusted, and suddenly like opportunities arise. Like, even when, so I worked at the STV first, and then I was at Setanta, and it took me probably until the last year at Setanta to realize that actually there is a route into commentary. Like, I didn't really think that it was a job until you saw the guys coming in on a Saturday and going into a booth and doing a game. I was like, I didn't realize that it was actually a job that could pay the bills.
Yeah, it must be quite challenging that though as well. Like, I see, especially there was a game on. It was the Glasgow Exeter game at Scotstoun when it was so foggy. That must be an.
Couldn't see anything. Yeah.
How do you commentate on that game when you can't see it? It's like a guy's got the ball. That's literally like when you're watching the game. It must be an absolute nightmare. Or if there was look quite alike and stuff, it must be quite challenging.
See, when the ball was down in the far like west corner, the only way you could tell that the players were down there was because they would be running in front of the clock. So you know, that would get broken, and you'd see that they were down there. And at one stage, all the forwards were down there. There'd been a scrum or a ruck or something, and I'm guessing. So it's general commentary because you don't know who's got the ball. You don't even really know what team's got the ball. And so I'm just saying, like, I can see that there's movement in front of the clock, so something's happening down there. So I'm just saying, it's a little pick and go and all this kind of stuff. They're camped on the line, defense is strong and that sort of thing. And then suddenly, like, I heard a bit of a reaction from the crowd, and there's like, nothing's happening down there. And something caught my eye, and actually the ball was on halfway and Hogg had just caught a catch and he was running it back. And I was like, I did not have a clue. Like, I thought the ball was 50 yards away from where it was.
Oh, that is, man. It's just, we were watching that game and we're like, there's just, you couldn't see anything. And
I was convinced that game was getting called off.
Yeah.
And I was doing pre-match interviews and I was like, there's no way this game is going ahead. And like, Danny Wilson came out and he's like, oh, we'll just do it. We'll just do a pre-match interview. And then obviously if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. You're like, okay, sure. Yeah. I'm thinking, I'll be back in my car in about 10 minutes. Still freezing my ass off. No idea what was going on in the game. Thankfully, the commentators kept me informed. But yeah, it's crazy. But the players all wanted that to go ahead. And the coaches, didn't they, that game? So
at Pitt's level, it was all right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess the players
terrible for a broadcaster.
Yeah, the players aren't really going to care about the broadcasters or the people watching on TV at home, are they?
No, just
and particularly when the EPCR are like, we've had 7 games called off in the Champions Cup that weekend. This is going ahead.
So that's probably leading on to the next questions. It's like there's been a lot of games being called off recently. For players, it must be frustrating because then it sort of backlogs into, what they need to do and follow up and games and stuff. You kind of forget that you guys then obviously it backs up for you as well. It congests your week, puts a lot of kind of onus on just rattling out these games and stuff like that. So what's it been like with all these backlog games catching up?
I think it was the first new year that I've been able to enjoy in about 10 years.
It's so true.
There was no game to think about. Because that was a strange thing. Like, usually Christmas, I did a game on Boxing Day, and then as I was about to leave to go to Scotland on the 27th, and that one gets called off. Yeah. And then I think I had games for the 29th, 30th, 2nd, 3rd, and then you're suddenly going, well, that time's all completely free. But at the same time, as you say, like, we're about to hit the backlog now. Yeah. So it's all going to become really, really congested. Like, I'd almost forgotten. See, when you get into that lull of, not worrying about invoicing, and you're like sitting back beginning in January, and you're like, oh, this is actually quite nice. I've got Glasgow against the Ospreys on the 8th, and then it's ages until I work again. And then this weekend was approaching, and I went, shit, I've got a game Tuesday. Then I've got to film a thing for BT on Wednesday. Then I've got Scottish Cup. I was like, Scottish Cup starts next weekend. I was like, Friday night, Saturday night, all this kind of thing.
This is like,
and then I've got a podcast to do on the Sunday night.
Rory Hamilton's 7 days, like Craig David's here, like, he's just calling for BT on Wednesday.
Yeah, well, I had a game on the 26th and then came home, and I actually went to a family function on the evening of the 26th, and I was like, really, really good, really subdued. Only had a couple of drinks for the game on the 27th. Absolutely furious in the 27th when the game got called off. I could have got shit-faced the night before, and I was like, really, really good. And I was like, damn it, I could have had a total hangover today, but no. Did all my prep, was just like Rory about to leave the house. I said, the game's off. I'm like, oh, right, well, never mind.
You made up for it on the 27th.
I didn't even, but yeah, no. It is. It's one of those, like Rory says, like it is what it is though. You're freelance and you work, you get paid when you work. So it is. It's all these moving variables that COVID throw at you, but it's equally the same for the players. And so it's also about the fans. I mean, none of us want to live without sport. It's just this
100%
crap situation where stuff keeps getting postponed and cancelled, and you're not allowed to go here, and you're not allowed to go there. It's just like, come on. Let's just all move on now.
Yeah, it's funny, like, when we've been talking to Kelly last week and then Ryan the week before, and obviously you're hearing the kind of players' perspective of the games getting cancelled at Christmas, but because everything gets cancelled short notice, it's not like they can retrospectively enjoy that time that they would have had free. And it's like it's one thing that probably never clocks for the people like us just sitting watching the games, the broadcast teams as well. It's similar. If you've got a game on Boxing Day, you can't really get absolutely shit-faced on Christmas Day and turn up to the game hungover and just be like, somebody's doing something with the ball. Would you just please turn off lights?
Unless it's a really foggy game.
Unless it's a foggy game, you just guess.
There's
the game on the 27th, though, is like everybody, all the camera guys and the riggers and the trucks were there. They were on site. It's like they've actually done all the hard work. They've put all the cables in and they've done everything that puts everything in place for us to turn up and do the game. And so, it's like all the hard work has gone in. I mean, Rory, we've been to loads of games, haven't we? I say loads, but we've been to quite a few games where you've actually turned up and the game's been called off when you're there. So it's not. I mean, it's a variable that happens in live sport every now and again. But obviously, that's happening. They are, in fairness,
they're the best ones when you get paid to not do the game.
You get there and then you get to go home early.
It's like pub.
Yeah, exactly.
But at least you know what I think for those 1872 Cup games. They need to be played in front of fans. Like those games are too big 100%. For Scottish rugby. Just from the perspective that they give, but also from the financial side of it. I mean, that's like one extra international in the year. So the amount of money that comes into the clubs for that is really, really big, and the spectacle of them. You don't want to be playing at empty grounds for those massive games. Like it's so much better that they will be able to play them. Even even if it's during the Six Nations, at least there will still be a crowd in for them.
Totally. Yeah.
It's it is like that. I mean, you get 30,000 at Murrayfield for that leg, and Scotston will sell out. So it's basically, like you say, it's a full international's worth of ticket money coming in.
Yeah.
Plus, it's a big game for all the kind of Glasgow, Edinburgh fans. It's the biggest game of the year to go and watch, and you get a lot of people who wouldn't maybe normally go to games will go to the one at Murrayfield because it gets it's a kind of social occasion. And hopefully, I guess with it being played later in the year, it might get played in nicer weather as well.
Well, there is always that. I mean, the less layers, the better. I can vouch for that. But also, I think this year's really exciting because of how competitive Glasgow and Edinburgh are. I mean, it's just brilliant to see both of them. Obviously, not the best results, in the European week, but obviously, head to head in the URC, it's fantastic to see them both going at it, and things finally coming together. Under Mike Blair and under Danny Wilson, like it's brilliant to see what's happening at the club. So, I think we want to see them play, like you say, in front of fans, but with a good bit of competitiveness as well. And so, we as rugby fans deserve to see that.
Well, look, and the deeper that goes, the deeper that goes into the season, though, the more intense that will become as as it approaches playoffs. And at the moment, Glasgow have just moved into fourth, so they're sort of teetering on the brink of won't they make the playoffs through that route. As that gets closer to May and the actual deciding of who's in the playoffs, if it comes down to double header against Edinburgh and they're both fighting for it, like that's going to be really, really exciting.
Yeah.
Also, it bodes well for Scotland getting into the Six Nations as well, having the two teams playing.
Yeah, both playing well. Like we're sitting here moaning about having to do about 5-6 weeks of training for Doddie Aid, and they're rattling out three or 4 games a week, and what they say is that the equivalent of like 4 or 5 car crashes a game. If you play like a back row or a hooker or something like that, it's the equivalent of 4 or 5 car crashes a game, and then they're rattling out 2-3 games a week, and here's me moaning about a sore knee. Like, I was on my indoor bike the other day and my knee tweaked a wee bit.
In fairness, I think I've caused about 4 or 5 car crashes just by weaving across because I'm so tired when I'm running. But,
stumbling out into the road.
There's like that guy's either drunk or really unfit.
The noise of those hits in the empty stadiums when there was no fans, oh my goodness, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
You just, every time someone goes in, you're like, oh. The touchline like this, and they all get back up and do it again. I was like, oh gosh.
I completely misheard you and thought you were saying the noise of those hips, and you were talking about Minnie's running.
Oh, Shakira.
I was like, you get me back for that Geo comment.
just when Minnie's mentioned the Six Nations, then with like the games you've covered for Glasgow and Edinburgh, is there anyone that particularly stands out from the Scottish perspective ahead of the Six Nations? Any players you're particularly looking forward to seeing?
Ooh, that's a good question. You brought that in. Do you know what I think? I think of late, and I think he might play his way in, not necessarily to the team. I'll take one from Edinburgh and one from Glasgow because they would still kind of be on the cusp. But I think Magnus Bradbury this season has been brilliant, and that 8 shirt could be up for grabs.
Yeah.
And I think from a Glasgow perspective, Rory Darge, I mean, to get the 7 shirt, obviously Watson, you're not going to shift him from that, but he can play a part in the tournament. And I think Tui Pilotu as well just gives us something else at centre. But again, you're going to shift Chris Harris from 13. He's big favourite of Townsend, so but it gives us, both those players give Scotland really good options, I think.
I was just talking about Hamish Watson today, not Hamish Watson, I beg your pardon, Magnus Bradbury. So you're just talking about that there, but I was talking about Magnus Bradbury today. My cousin used to play rugby, and he came through with Magnus Bradbury because he was from Oban. Obviously, I'm from Arica, so it's this, same coast of Scotland, all that type of thing. And
miles away.
It's miles away, but they used to play, and D. Bradbury used to come and watch them, and all these different things. And we were talking about it today. I'd absolutely love it. I would really love it, like to see him force his way into that, because I just think he's been such a colossus this season, particularly. That for me, that would be a massive. But as a fan, I'd love to see that happen once again, because I just think some of his performances have been absolutely unbelievable. So I'd love to see Magnus getting back in there and getting like a first pick.
Oh, absolutely.
Scotland going to win it?
Obviously.
I say that every year though, even when it's wooden spoon years.
And win what?
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to win something.
Best kit or something, or best socks.
We'll win hearts and minds.
Yeah, that's
all that matters.
Best fans.
This year could be our year.
Hopefully. I think we're going to move on just shortly to speed round, but I've got one last question. Rory, one of the things I've always had.
Oh no!
No, I've been.
When Ali says he's got one last question, this is when me and Minnie try and cut him off.
Like Columbo when he does that. I've got one last thing.
Because Emma and I know, because we've been, obviously Emma's a full-time reporter. I've done little bits and pieces. And you always save the killer question that they don't want to answer until the end.
Definitely.
Do I look happy?
Aye, that was the last answer, wasn't it?
Don't ask stupid questions.
Oh yeah, it's definitely, we're not going down that road. It's being a commentator, and you're obviously thinking on your feet all the time. You're watching a live game in front of you. It's remembering the names of the players, especially when you've got, say, like guys, Fijian players, guys, Tongan players. These big crazy names and stuff. What sort of mental preparation do you do for say looking at games live and remembering what's going on in front of you?
Yeah, I mean, because sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't remember who it is, and they're already under the posts by the time that you remember it. I don't know. I think it's just a familiarity. The difficult names are the ones that you practice, so they become the easy ones. And do you know what? For years, there are some players that just become a blank. And for probably like the first 3 years of commentating, and he's the standout guy on the pitch that you can't not recognise. But for some reason, it took me an extra second every time to get Rob Harley. For some reason, I was like, I can't work it out. But sometimes I was just like, he's got the ball, and he's like, I need to say a name, and it's not there.
Written on the inside of the hand. Right, there's there.
Ginger guy, Rob Harley.
Let's not be gingerist.
Yeah,
but you know what? Like you do. So I write out all my the teams and stuff. Rugby, you're lucky because you get the team the day before, which is great. Whereas football, you're doing it from like the entire squad list, including all the 18-year-olds, because you never know who's going to play.
God forbid you get the team more than an hour before kickoff.
Oh, they're so precious.
Even though it's the same team as it is every other week.
So I draw it all out. And I guess you kind of memorize it, but you notice certain things in the warm up, and it might be boot color or headband, knee straps, like something. And so I usually just write it in a little bit next to them. So Scott Cummings is a really obvious one because he's big and tall and stands out, but he nearly always wears a blue scrum cap. George Turner nearly always wears a red scrum cap, so these guys like become really recognizable.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess you've got little tactics.
Ali would be writing things like, nice thighs, or like amazing eyes. Like,
that's actually like my commentary.
I read the Emma Dodd's book. I was like, how to do sports journalism.
The funny thing is, though, it is quite comical, the difference between football and rugby. Like Royce just said, they release the team, a day in advance or whatever. You ask somebody in a pre-match interview, manager, like, so you've named this guy. Does that mean you're sort of going to go with a heavier loaded midfield? Well, you just have to wait and see, won't you? Because obviously all the people from the other team are listening to your pre-match interview, so they're never, they're going to know how to set up their team if they listen to this interview. You're just like, it's just a bit of insight. Like, seriously, like,
because the other thing
that you're going to set up.
Aye.
For UEFA games, the clubs need to give the teams to UEFA. And see, every other country, they give the team, and that's what the team is. When Celtic and Rangers play, you've got, it's like Morelos is at left back and Alan McGregor's up front, and like Joe Hart's centre midfield, Kyogo's centre back, and all this kind of stuff.
We'll keep them guessing.
Formation up, and we're pretty much sure that's not how they're going to line up.
like on the off chance that they've not had a scout at any of your games for the last month.
They've just got all the squad in the changing room, all the jerseys have got no names on them yet. They're just like, wait a second till this interview comes on. Right. We're playing Morelos at left back, right?
I'd love to see Morelos' face if he was told he was playing left back. Yeah.
Brilliant.
But that was the last question I had for you. So I think we're going to move on to...
we'll move on to... speed rounds. This is the last bit, guys. Emma, you've went through this before, so we're only going to narrow it down to 5 questions for each of you. So a wee quick one, and then this will do us. So just so you know, everyone's had 10 out of 10. Emma had 10 out of 10 last time. The only person that's had 9 was Brooke Combe. She fucked up a question about the Euros, so bizarrely. So she's had 9.
I'm feeling under pressure again.
There's no pressure here. We'll do it turnabout. So with the same question, and ladies first, Emma, if you can answer first, then you, Rory.
It's a bit sexist.
Emma.
Chivalrous, we call it.
Yeah, that's it, man. So, okay, we'll start off with question 1. So, Emma, who would play you in a movie of your life?
Oh my God, that would obviously have to be Goldie Hawn.
Goldie Hawn, brilliant. Rory, a couple extra seconds there.
Wesley Snipes.
Is that a young Wesley, or is that like the recent Wesley?
No, young Wesley.
Okay.
I could also put Goldie Hawn 20 years ago.
You're past Emma. Sorry, you're done.
Who is the most famous person that you've ever met?
Not the original.
What was that? Sorry, I missed that.
Cristiano Ronaldo, I think.
Oh.
Or David Beckham, actually, you pick.
Ooh, that's close. Who is more famous to them?
Oh man, I'd probably say Beckham.
Yeah,
is it for me? What about you, Rory?
I don't know. I'm not very good on famous meets. Doddie Weir. Oh. He's famous now.
Good answer.
Mega famous.
Seems an appropriate answer.
That's a good one. Clip that.
What is your biggest fear or phobia?
Oh, Spiders, maybe. Hate them.
You, Rory?
I honestly don't think I've got any. I like heights.
Commenting on foggy days. Yeah.
It feels like
Fog.
Hate
fog.
Terrified of fog.
Probably like a Tongan Zimbabwean rugby player.
playing in fog.
Double-barreled name
Playing in fog. Yeah, okay.
that looks like Rob Harley.
So commentating on Tonga versus Zimbabwe in the fog when Rob Harley's refereeing. That seems like a good one.
Sounds like a fucking nightmare. Right, so Emma, if you could interview anyone dead or alive, who would be number one in the list?
Aretha Franklin.
Ooh, nice. Rory, who is it for you?
Gabriel Batistuta.
Oh, legend.
Oh, that's
Batty
class.
girl.
Cracker.
Very good.
I bet Gabriel Batistuta, Rory. Play golf with them at the Belfry.
Oh,
There you go.
you wouldn't be able to concentrate. What a man. That was my teenage crush.
That long hair.
I was going to say, don't start describing him. Ali will go off on one in a minute.
That's it.
Talk about those flowing locks.
I was just going to say, I was going to.
When you were answering that, Emma, there, it just sounded like a get up, you, Rory. I'm not sure.
Sorry.
Right, okay. And last question, Emma, if you had a boat, what would you name it? Maybe you do have a boat. What have you named it?
Boat. I don't really like boats. I don't like the sea particularly, but I would call it Renar, after my favourite champagne.
Very nice.
Very classy.
Okay. Neil, and Rory, what's your boat called, mate?
Has everyone said dignity so far?
We've had a few absolute bizarre answers to this, to be honest with you. So dignity, yeah, we'll go with that.
Probably the far too obvious one. Is that the one that like sets off the siren on, is it QI? Like the really obvious answer.
That's the one where we pull the lever and you get.
Vicky gets money for you saying that though.
Yeah.
So is that it? We're going with dignity. That's what you've.
We'll go with that. Yeah. Yeah.
Does that say when you get on the boat, you leave that back at shore?
Party boat.
What happens on this boat stays in this boat.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's lack of dignity.
I'm in. If I'm invited, I'm in.
Oh, you're there.
Now you can bring your champagne.
That's it.
Brilliant. I think that's pretty much everything for us today, guys. I think we've run on a wee bit longer, but thank you so much for coming on. And what's the plans for the rest of Doddie Aid? Just smash it.
Get back on that bike. If only we could go skiing, Rory.
Oh, I know. I'd have done all the split boarding miles by now, but yeah,
100%,
sadly
you've been
not.
smashing the
Although
miles,
you're looking for the jumping on the 8-man chairlift that zips you up to the top of the mountain
Right,
where I'm
up.
slogging away myself.
No, I'm straight up the gondola, up to lunch, ski down.
Well, and just don't forget that you've made the really bad mistake of joining the group now, so we'll be watching you. So there's no excuses.
Well, I'm doing two-man rows tomorrow, so I'll get an extra 40 bonus miles in.
Is that how it works? Aye. That's the thing about those.
I did the cobbler today.
When you see me, we shoot up the league table. Then.
Listen, if you shoot up above Glenn Bryce, you're doing very well, mate, because he ran to Kuwait and back, so he's done a great job.
To think it's meters and not miles. That's what I'm going to be inputting from now on.
Well, Glasgow need to cheat somehow, so yeah.
Hey, it's better to be lucky than good. That's what I always say.
That's it. True.
Better to cheat and win, aye.
That's our motto.
Danger miles, bonus miles, they all count.
Or we
also for a jog.
Before we do final wrap up, the one thing we have been asking guests is for a wee song for our back bar Spotify playlist. We've been getting everyone's kind of go-to song, whether it's the one that starts your 5k run or whether it's your chill out song. I think we have had a song from Emma before, so maybe let Rory go first on this one.
Absolutely.
I know. Do you know what? I'm going to get one off. This is a good one. This is going to be my my entrance music. Which
Your boxing match.
Your boxing career.
Yeah, when I become a boxer, this is
Tyson Fury, look out.
It's probably more Jake Paul look ahead.
It's a song by Larry Miller called Rory. So you can give that a listen.
Larry Miller.
Yeah, it's about Rory Gallagher.
Right, but you're claiming it for your boxing career. Right?
That's me. When I'm charging down to the ringside like Ultimate Warrior, then that's what I'm coming out to.
Right, okay, fair enough. Rory Miller. Okay.
Just go with something a bit more reserved than that. I'm going to go with Sweet Disposition by the Temper Trap.
Okay, nice.
Going to save you all from Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've already got Whitney on from somebody else.
Well, I'm going to salute that person.
The most random one we've got was Tam Cowan's "Happiness" by Ken Dodd.
Wow.
Aye.
It just changes the entire feel of the playlist. I'm not gonna lie.
Because there's a few absolute bangers on there, and then that's like, come on, Tam, what is this? But each to their own.
You talk about changing the feel, like changing the emotion. I booked a table in a restaurant a couple of weeks ago, gave them my name, and the guy went, there's a really famous footballer, David Dodds. You related to him? And I was like, nope. No, not related to him. And I was like, come on, pal. I mean, seriously.
We've got a funny story about this. I don't know if this is insulting or not, though. But so I was just doing some Googling and stuff like I normally do. You know, people coming on, and I don't know how it came across. I think I put your name in or something, and it says, who is Emma Dodd's dad? And it was coming up, Billy Dodds was your dad. And so I was like, really? I said, I've never heard. He says, she's been on before. And it says, that research would have come up, you know, so I emailed the guys, texted the guys. I was like, what do you think about this? Is this going to be true or not? And so we're going back and forth. No. And then the day shift detective that we've got on the show here, Mr. Martin James, he worked out, he was like, Billy Dodds is in his 50s. Emma's, you know, not 50, but it says like he didn't have a which I was like, that's why I said I didn't want to be insulting with it, you know. But
poor Billy, honestly, he's been accused a lot of things, but just like dad is not one of them, eh?
Unless he was out of the dancing when he was 11. For a lunch.
He's got a lot to answer for, hasn't it?
I know. Check have been roaming about Helensburgh. So
just good old Kevin Dodds from Newcastle.
But yeah, that's twice in one day. But there you go. That's me. I know, that's it. Sorry. I knew that was going to be awkward, but never mind.
Right, so I'm glad we've cleared that up.
We can all sleep easy tonight.
I mean, I've been asking my mum for years.
Maybe she's the one that put it up on Wikipedia.
I don't know how to tell you, Emma.
Go Google your name there, Emma, and you'll find
I think I'm going to have to phone my actual dad after this, have a real conversation with him.
Or if you're doing an interview up at was it Cali Thistle, you just be looking at him and just be like, does he look the same? No. No, yeah, that's it.
Sorted. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for coming on. Obviously, brilliant effort put into Doddie Aid. I know it's an absolute challenge. I know you've got loads of games and stuff coming up with this backlog, so hopefully you get through it okay. But listen, thank you very much for coming on again. Emma, for the second time. Rory, I hope it's not been too terrible for you coming on for your first time and popping your cherry with us. So I appreciate it.
If Emma makes it a third, she'll get a testimonial.
Oh, that's it.
I'm striving for. See you next year, lads.
Yeah, that's it.
Brilliant. Okay, guys, thanks so much. I'll see you later on, all right?
Thanks,
cheers, guys. Thank you.
Take care. Cheers, guys. See you later.
Brilliant.
Awesome. So that was Emma and Rory joining us, two die-hard Team Glasgow members and our two newest members of the Back Bar Podcast League. So that's now 50. Not saying that there's not room for any more, but if you're going to join, I hate odd numbers, so we're going to try and get someone else so it's at least an even number, please. But it just means
it's so weird. What's wrong with odd numbers?
I'm kind of with Minnie on that one, actually. I prefer a nice even number.
No. But your favorite number is 3. That's as odd. And what's the? It's
3 and 9. You don't make the rules in my fucking number.
Well, don't talk about shite that you don't like odd
Look at you
numbers.
getting
And tell
so
me your
defensive
favorite
of
numbers and
numbers,
odd numbers.
you
Just
Why could
because
this bother you?
because you bother me with your stupid shite.
What
It's
is
like
going
you don't like odd numbers, but your favorite number is an odd number. So surely that's contradicting itself. So why?
Because one's for a group to round up on that, and then a
Doesn't
favorite
like-
number's a favorite number.
So you like to be an individual as an odd number. So you like odd.
He doesn't
And
like
then-
odd numbered groups. He likes everyone being able to pair up.
What is fucking going on? What's going on here?
I think.
Right,
I
back
just-
down-
I'm
think you're
just-
starting.
back bar podcast.
Just digging deep into your psyche here.
Join the back.
Oh,
bar
I want
podcast.
odd numbers now. So we'll see who wins.
Right, okay.
I'm
Fire
gonna.
out,
I
guys.
don't care. I don't care if it goes even. I'm gonna go fine. So I'll just like add the dog.
Right. Okay. Ali has spoken.
You didn't get Team
Just
Glasgow
join the
so miles,
back
would you,
bar.
for the love of God?
That's it.
Don't
That's
get comfy with
fine.
me now.
That's
because
fine. Well, everyone that's doing it, keep doing it. If you're not doing it,
Mhm.
start doing it. And is there anyone else?
If you're in Team Glasgow, please double your efforts.
I
yeah,
know.
sack up, man. Like we need to actually get anywhere near Edinburgh because we're getting absolutely thumped at the moment. So everything counts. If you're going for a walk to the garage to get a whisper, it counts. Taking the dog for a walk counts. Get the numbers in. Danger miles is the other one. Remember your danger miles and your bonus miles from the nose, and get it done.
There's loads of places to find danger miles in Glasgow as well. Me and Minnie both live in Paisley. You know, we'll be racking up those danger
I think
miles.
we just walked to each other's house and it's 25 danger miles. So that's good. But yeah, it's been good fun. It was good catching up with Rory and Emma again. And we should hopefully be back next week with some more nonsense. In the meantime, guys, pleasure as always. I will see you next week. Keep those miles up. I need to try and catch you too. Not going to happen.
Do it. Kick in. Kick
Right,
for
okay.
home.
Awesome. See you later, guys. Thanks very much. Take care.
Cheers all. Bye.
Bye.
And yeah.